Made up of 18 Jamaican herbs and spices, add delicious, bold flavor to your next grilling experience. Flavoring sauce, a marinade, basting, condiment, or topping. Trick Nick Jerk Barbecue Sauce.
I am sure sports. You know me there. I'm coast to coast representing. I mean, I say this is righteous representing for Omar. You don't know, come get the sports over here from near and far. Boy. Me say I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. If me not sure, that me not say it. Know who score, that me not say it. Never know the game play, that me not say it. If me never seen a game, me not know who play. For your sports news, better come over here so. For your soccer news, then come over here so. If you don't love sports, still come over here so. For the day done, you are gonna love over here so.
So when it comes on to behavior concerning football, Jamaica is decent. I am sure that if we can get all of these things done, set in place by the end of April, it gives us enough time before the World Cup campaign. Not afraid of no Brazil, no Argentina with these crap of players. We are good enough. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Listen, comment, let me know what your thoughts are.
Trick Nick Jerk Marinade gives your meats and vegetables authentic Jamaican jerk flavor. The spices are directly from Jamaica. Spices like jerk seasoning, allspice, Scotch bonnet pepper, fresh scallions, thyme, ginger, and garlic. The key ingredients to a great jerk marinade. 0% sugar and low in sodium. You want to try it?
Good evening, good night, wherever you are. And I am Stan Kronke, sitting in for the illustrious Omar Stennett, otherwise known as Manning's Man, who's away on permanent interim manager's duty for the national team. And I'm joined here by the illustrious Mr. Andre. Andre, good night. How are you doing, sir? Mr. Andre Fortune, for that matter.
Andre Fortune.
Yes. You know Emrich people. You know Emrich.
In living color.
No black and white.
No black and white. I couldn't be better, Kronke. At the moment, life is good. No complaints. It always, every time I hear it, the words, "We are not afraid of no Argentina and no Brazil." Does Manning's Man speak for Jamaica? Does he speak for Jamaica or for himself? When he's
speaking for himself. He's used the word "we." He pluralized the word, but I think he's speaking for himself. So maybe he should say, "I am not afraid."
Yeah.
I am not smart enough to be afraid is what you should think about it. Because Argentina toyed with us and gave us 3. Good night for those of you in the chat. As you come in, just hit the like button. Don't come in and sit and listen and just leave. Hit the like button when you come in. Good night, Drew Russ. You start giving me a hard time. We're late. We're not late. We pressed the advertisement button as we came in at 8 o'clock. If I was 8 o'clock in about 50-something seconds, real baller, bless up, Jason, Mr. United. Good night to all of you, and thanks for joining us. We have a good show lineup tonight. We're going to talk some Concacaf Nations League football, and we also have a special guest. And how much we talk about the football will be informed by the time of arrival of our special guest, so it may be interrupted we're talking about. But Andre, it's an interesting time for us in Concacaf. talking about Concacaf football and Nations League and all the teams that aspire to play against the big boys next year.
Yeah.
They want to finish in their top brackets or in these playoffs to do so. What are your thoughts?
Well, it is an interesting time. I think, CONCACAF has evolved over the last few years, and they're now providing an opportunity for nations from the region to get games against countries that would otherwise, can otherwise be, impossible to get, based on ranking and so forth. So, look, one would expect that Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago would be the ones leading the charge to try to get into those spaces and get those experience. So they both play on Thursday, along with there's a lot of other games in the region, but I think those would be the two biggest games, right? Would you agree?
Yes, I would think so. I would think the Canada-Jamaica game. Well, there's some big games. Costa Rica is playing Panama, aren't they?
But for the region, for us in the Caribbean.
You mean you're talking about the Caribbean, actually?
Yeah.
I think, okay. Yes.
And
yes. Trinidad, Jamaica, perennial, always at the top of the chart in the English-speaking Caribbean, and even for the Caribbean in total. Given that Indo-Haiti has always had a good team, haven't done well over some of the years. So, and Cuba at one time was decent, but times are hard for Cuba. So I would agree with Trinidad and Jamaica. Correct.
So they both play tomorrow. I don't know. Trinidad play at 9:00 in
I thought you played you playing against the US. Is it 9 or 7?
Yeah, I think it's 9:00. In Houston.
You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna pivot in the program because I just realized I shouldn't say my guest. Our guest has arrived.
Hey,
bring him on.
I am sure sport thing. We're not afraid of no Argentina and Brazil.
So I'm gonna bring on our guest. I'm gonna bring our guest on. Good night, Sebastian. How are you doing?
Hey Stan, how you doing? I'm good, thank you.
I'm doing well. I'm here with Andre.
Hello, Sebastian.
Hello Andre. Hey, nice to meet you.
Yeah, same here.
So for those of you who don't know, Sebastian Boxleitner, I've not mispronounced your name, right?
No, you're doing it very good.
Is a member of the I'm going to call it sort of contingent coaching staff of the Jamaica national team.
Yeah.
And he's here to have a discussion with us tonight. I want to find out a lot of information about him, his background, his history and experience, but more importantly, talk about what it is to be what we call a physical trainer for the team. How would you label your role?
If I would call it probably a performance coach, performance specialist.
Okay.
If you,
specialist.
Like this one, because you get messed up a little bit with physiotherapist, athletic trainer, rehabilitation trainer. I'm a little bit of all of it, except physiotherapist. I'm not a physiotherapist. But in that case,
I think Sebastian has some connection challenges. He's frozen. He sounds like he's in a cafeteria someplace, so the team must be having dinner. We have lost him apparently.
Yeah.
Not sure where he is, but Sebastian, you're coming in and out. I think the Wi-Fi is not the best where you are actually.
Yeah, I know. I'm in the lobby. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, but I figure there's some background noise, so I figure that's supposed to be the case. But we work through challenges. That's what we do here. He's frozen again. It's going to be an interesting journey here. Those in the comment section. Sebastian, is it possible to find another spot where you could get better reception? Is that possible? And we can bring you back in. Sebastian?
Yeah,
we lost him. We lost him. We try to bring him back. As he said, he's the performance, I'm going to call it performance enhancer, performance trainer for the national team. We have these terminologies nowadays. Historically, people would have some terminology and labels about what they are, and they become much more, how would I put it, sexy over time in terms of what your role is. So that's performance trainer, performance enhancer. Huh?
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's interesting, but hopefully you can find I think he's back actually.
Let me see. Is he?
So
Yeah, no, he's back. He's back.
Getting better. I changed my location now.
Your spot. Let's hope it works. Let's hope it works. So, given that we have some connection challenges, we'll jump right into it. So, you're a performance trainer, performance enhancer, something in that range. An interesting label. Talk us through your background, experience, and also as you go through that process, how you got involved with the Jamaican national team.
Okay, long story though. So my background, technically, I was just like an athlete, doing football. So when I got to university, I switched to tennis. Wasn't that successful, honestly. So I switched to professional mountain biking, spending 8 years in a professional circus of mountain biking, and then decided to go into fitness training. So from that standpoint, from that perspective, I experienced just like a team sport in football, an individual sport, and an extreme sport. So that gave me a lot of knowledge about movements, and that helped me a lot. I was studying at the University of Düsseldorf in Western Germany, sports science. And at one point, when I got a little bit into football, that was just like probably 15 years ago. Germany was just like really big in performance, coming up with Mark Verstegen. I don't know if that name is just like familiar. He was just like at Exos, and so I went to the States, studied, did a lot of courses at Exos, a lot of other courses at Altis, sprinting performance, went back to Germany, and then I got an offer. How it is in football, the offers are coming in from a Swiss company, and they said, okay, can you take care of youth athletes? We have different kind of youth athletes, and you can do whatever you want. Yeah, so that was a great thing. I got a gym, so they said, okay, whatever you want, you can put into the gym, and that was a great experience because it was starting from scratch. Nothing was in the gym. I could do whatever I want. So I was really creative. I had to be creative because I was the only person who did this first. And that pushed me a little bit into the area of football. Yeah, so I had football players first, I had baseball players, tennis players, basketball players. So I had to be creative. So one football player came in, then the next hour I had a basketball player that changed movement, analyzes, and even just like, probably corrective exercises, rehabilitation, and so on and so forth. And then took a little time. A big club in Switzerland came to me and said, "Hey, do you want to work full time here for our first team?" That was I did this then and moved from that performance center into football, and that was probably 11 years ago. So and then I was just like only in football. I was in football at St. Gallen. That was the first team, so they're playing in the highest league in Switzerland. And how it is, I met a coach in Austria, and he was Icelandic, and at that time Icelandic was playing the the European Championship. That was 2016, and he became the assistant coach with Heimir Hallgrímsson, so that was just like the coincidence that brought us together. So the assistant coach, his name is Helgi Kolvitsson, he asked me, "Hey, do you want to join? They don't have a fitness coach. They don't have performance. Can we just do something together?" And so I said, "Yes, sure." After that, after the European Championship, Iceland was just like a big number in the world of football. So I did it in Iceland for 2.5 years, worked with Gudmundur, so the goalie coach, with Heimir together. And then after the World Cup, so we joined the World Cup together. And after the World Cup, Helgi Kolvitsson, the assistant coach, went to Liechtenstein, was a close country to my country, to Switzerland I'm living in. So I moved to Liechtenstein. Okay, still staying in the club of St. Gallen and leading the academy. So I moved a little bit. So from the first team, I moved to the academy, just doing more like youth development work, because that was, yeah, what I what I could combine at that time with the national team. Because when you're with the first team and working for the national team, that's always a challenge, you know. Every time when there's a break, a national break, and the players are probably training a little bit more, you're gone. That makes no sense. So I said, okay, I take over the academy, so all the youth teams and all the women teams, and went to Liechtenstein. And yeah, and then it was just like, again, a coincidence. So I kept contact to Hamia all the time. And yeah, and he said just like 2 months ago, hey, can you help us? We just want to set up here something special. Um, the players are great. The stuff is great. Would be fine if you could join and just take a look at it and just help and share information. And actually, that is what we are doing now.
Okay. A question popped up. Now that we don't jump to the chat with our guests so early, but I thought it was a good question. And the question says, is the performance enhancer position new? And why is it needed and or different from other physio personnel?
Yeah. So when you just define the physiotherapist, it's more like hands-on work on guys who want to get ready for the training and who are probably coming out of injury, so post-injury. And a performance specialist is someone who's looking at the performance metrics, movement quality. For example, right now it's just like a certain topic, sprinting capability. So I don't have a lot to do with all those injuries. So the first one is the physio, and he's passing me over the guys when it comes to performance. So it's just like a little bit that I need to work really closely together with the physiotherapist. But as I said, physio is just like more hands-on. Sometimes massage, sometimes just like injury prevention programs, and that is the point where we just work together. So when they're getting out of injury, out of treatment, then they're coming into my sessions, and then I just try to enhance performance, getting faster, getting stronger, more explosive. So it's a different kind of work.
Okay. Andre?
Sebastian, welcome again.
Thank you.
The game is evolving, as you're aware,
Yeah.
and positions keep being, renamed, retitled, that kind of stuff. Could you be? I know you said you studied at the University of Düsseldorf, and you did sports science, and you did some studying here in the U.S. What specifically did you have to study to become a physical trainer?
So I think studying sports science is a good foundation for it, but there is not really a specific education program in each country. I know that because I'm from Europe, I'm from Switzerland. So if I just look to the UEFA, there are only a few countries. I think right now it's only Belgium and Switzerland doing special educational program and categorize it in a performance trainer, and they have different stages. So if you are in a country who's not just like educating just like providing those programs, I can only just advise you just get a good mentor in this area. So it's strength and conditioning. Just take courses, take courses all over the world, talk with the people, share informations with other performance coaches, strength and conditioning coaches, understand the physiotherapist, because that is mainly the guy who you're working closely together with. understand the coach's philosophy, and put it all together.
Okay. So you have worked in the club environment,
Yeah.
and now you're working in national team environment.
Yeah.
You've done most of your work in Europe,
Yeah.
right? And now you're in the Caribbean. Um, a two-part question. With the national team program, you don't have them for a long time.
No.
Versus in,
No.
in the club environment, you do. How is it different in terms of preparation and recovery? Because I'm sure that falls under your remit as well. So how is it different, the club environment versus the national team environment? And also, how is the makeup of the athletes, the European athletes that you have dealt with versus the Caribbean, the body mass and that kind of stuff? How is that different, and how does it affect the work that you do?
Okay, a lot of questions.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was nearly 5 in 1.
Let's deal with the first part of it.
Okay, I tried to get through it. Okay, so let us start. Okay, so the club environment.
Club versus national team.
Yeah, totally different, as you said. So, and you have to handle the athletes totally differently, because in the club, I mean, you just have probably microcycles, you just have mesocycles, so you just have a big plan, probably for half the year, making small adjustments. In the national team, and that is what question comes up, also, you look a little bit more to recovery, because most of the players are coming in from a hard season. They just use the time as a national team, just like a little bit more to relax.
Right.
So we cannot put load on them. We cannot load them. We cannot think of performance like we think of performance in the club environment.
Right.
Yeah. So in the club environment, we just have a strict plan. Okay, we just have certain topics: top speed, acceleration, change of direction, and so on and so forth. At the national team is more like overall well-being, if you say so.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's just like more recovery. I put in a little bit of movement work, so just like technical work, just like sprinting mechanics and all that stuff. But the load management is, sure, I look to the numbers, but in general, the numbers are not quite high. Yeah, so we don't have really pure sprinting lessons where you just want to reach 95% of max speed. You just have that in the club. But in the national team, you probably want to keep them fresh. You want to keep them that they're feeling comfortable even with the training, and that they are ready for those probably 2 games or 3 games. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. And we try to provide information for the people listening. So before we go to the different types of athletes, athletes in Europe versus here in the region, just to piggyback on that, on your answer from the previous question. So what would the players arrive on Monday? So for what would the day-to-day, what does that look like from your perspective in terms of what you're trying to accomplish?
So in general, when the players are coming in on Monday, we just know that a few players or most of the players come from Europe here. So they did a lot of traveling.
Right.
Okay, so we just keep them out the first training. We say always, whenever you want to step out, whenever you want to join. When you want to step out, step out. Because most of the players, if they're playing in higher leagues, they know their body. They're professional athletes. They purely can say, I step out now because I know this is probably too much load on my body. So we trust the players in that case. And then we do low levels. So we just do micro dosing. Yeah. So we don't do a lot of load. If we do jumps, what is called a plyometric exercises, we do low level plyos. So we will not jump on high boxes or whatever. So the outcome in training, performance perspective is not we want to reach the top in those 10 days. No, we want to keep them fresh. We want to give them as low stimulus on nearly everything. So we just teach them probably a little bit of running mechanics in case of corrective exercises, in case of rehabilitation. But as I said, we keep it very simple, we keep it very short, and we want to make the players that.
Right. So is this done in relation? Is there communication between? Is information being transferred between the national team and the football club?
Yes, yes. So, and that is our target, that we just want to improve that, so that we just send reports to the clubs around 2 weeks prior camp,
Right.
so that they just send us a report that we just know exactly what they did the last 2 weeks.
Right.
So that we just know the load, that we just know what training session that was,
Right.
that we know what happened on that training session. Was there a minor injury? Probably. Yeah.
Right.
If he had treatment and stuff. So we try to share more and more information. Yeah, and it's vice versa. So when the camp is over, we just send them the report over. So that means we just send them awareness questionnaire from the players, how good they slept, how was the quality of sleep, length of sleep, how was your training willingness, and so on and so forth. That is what we just want to improve, and that is what we are actually doing right now. So I just do it together with Lamar, who's the fitness coach here, and I hope we can make the next step.
And before I give you back to Kronke, why is that important? Why is that exchange of information, working together with the professional athlete? Why is that important? That information is shared back and forth.
Yeah. So in general, we want to know how the player will behave when they're with us. So if they had just like really intensive training time, are they tired? And the more information we get, the better it is for us to plan a session. So then we can say, okay, we just make a recovery group, probably we'll make a strength group, or we just make a general training group. To split the training into groups, that makes even more sense, especially if they're coming from long traveling
Right.
and they're feeling tired in their legs. So we have to be very careful with them. And as you know, they are just like professional athletes. They are not like general population anymore.
Right. Right.
They are just like the Ferraris
Yes.
of population.
Right.
So you just have them. You just need to give them the right amount of load. You have to give them good nutrition. You have to give them good training environment, and that is what we try to do.
Right. So that they could be ready for game day. This is a good way to segue.
Exactly.
Since you mentioned Ferrari, it's a good way to send it back to Stan.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, because you're bringing in 23 players, all at different stages in terms of where they are, injury-wise, fitness-wise. And you say you're trying to put them in buckets, but how does that work? Because how do you design individualized training program for each? And you're not doing full training, because you're saying it's a short window you have them. They're training at their own clubs. So how do you do it and be effective for each of the 23 players?
Yeah, that's always a challenge. Always the biggest challenge, I would say, especially when it comes to individualized programs, because most of the players, especially in the higher league, they just have already the individual program. So we don't have to provide more programs or just like force them to do whatever we want. Yeah. So if it comes to preparation, before the training, if they have a preparation routine, we let them do their routine. We will not say, hey, you have to do our routine, you have to do our warm-up. If they just say, no, I just have my special hip mobility work, ankle stiffness work, we just say, okay, show it to me, we can talk about it, you do your stuff. And if we think that that will not match our philosophy, we can talk to the club. So, and then it comes to this information. Yes. So the more information we share and the more the information they share, the better it is for the player. Yeah. So we can find probably more exercises that will work for them. And I think player will benefit from it.
Right. What role does sports science play in your methodology?
Well, that's a tough question, though. So if I would say, or if the question would be, what are you implementing sports science wise, what you learned at the university, I would say nothing. so yeah, it's, it's a lot of experience that you need to have in professional sports, So if I would say I learned the most from other coaches, from a mentor. So if you got good mentors, that's the best thing. But sports science is, for me, it's just a foundation. So if you would say, Stan, for example, just like a specific question to body composition, whatever it is, a really specific one, I would probably say, I don't know. Yeah. And probably I'm not interested in it. So I just look to the performance from a efficient standpoint, from a data perspective. So we look to the data, and I think then you create a little bit of your methodology and philosophy that you're training in. And if you just push the next question probably to me, what is my philosophy? I'm in sprinting. I just look for maximum speed. Maximum speed will nearly solve everything in modern sports, in my opinion. This is my opinion. Yeah, so and that is what we just do at the national team right now. We just shift all those numbers that is collected by GPS from absolute to relative numbers. So we don't look to the numbers. International thresholds are set. So you just have your threshold at 19.8 kilometers per hour. What is above 25.5 kilometers per hour is just like a high sprint. If you have fast people, just like Jamaicans, they're fast in general. I would not call it a sprint when someone with maximum speed of 36 kilometers per hour is running 25. He's probably cruising, right? So, and this is just like, so we set new thresholds just like to be a little bit more specific in load management and in sprinting capabilities, because that is what we need. Sprinting ability, so they need to sprint more in distance and in just like sprinting numbers. They have to do probably, back in time, they did 10 sprints, now they have to do 20.
Right. So here's something I've been thinking about as you talk through the different things and factors that you consider in this process.
Yeah.
Does the position the player plays affect what program you customize for them?
Yes, sometimes. It's just like limited a bit, but because you just have to think about the training, So sure, when they're in each position, they just run differently. So I just know, just like a 6, they just have more cutting, more shuffling, and a limited space. If you just look to the winger, they're doing way more runs. They don't do straight linear runs. They just do a little bit more curved runs. So in training, yeah, we try to implement this. But I know this is, and this is always just like challenging a little bit, because my time is limited. I don't get 60 minutes. Jaime would never give me 60 minutes. What is okay? So I know probably that I have 10, probably 20 minutes. So yeah, we have to implement those things that's going to happen in the training or probably in the game. So if you just take a winger, I would do curved runs on a long distance. I would not do it with a 6. Yeah. So if you're in the center, you probably don't need it. You probably do it in a game, but probably only once. So they have to be ready for it, but they don't need to train it.
So here's my last question for back to Andre. We're in an interesting time in history with data being almost everything, technologies. What is new on the horizon that's really piquing your interest? So for example, AI. How would AI inform what you do today and going forward?
So AI, well, that's again a big thing, especially if you just talk to the data. So I know, and I spoke to a lot of companies that they are just trying to implement AI in just like in the case of planning, so that you can put into the software, I want to create a drill with that size of a pitch, with that number of people, and the AI is just like calculating how many decel, XL, high speed running will occur if you just take that drill for 2 minutes. I don't know if that will work in future. It will work in future, but it's very specific because every team is differently in players. So, and I don't know if we should use it in a national team. In a club environment, it's totally different because you can collect numbers on a daily basis. Because to using AI, you need a lot of data. It's big data what we handle. Yeah, and the more data you have, the better the system will work. And in a national team, I just know probably in these 10 days, I have those 23 guys. Probably in the next camp, which is in March, I have 10 new guys coming in. So it's all messed up a little bit. And I don't think that data is ready for it for now. We don't know how future will be.
So before I go to Andre, another question popped up. Sorry, Andre.
Yeah,
so you talk about maybe 10 new guys coming in. So how do you keep track of all of this? And if a new guy came in and then left, didn't come for the next window, but come for the following window, how does that work holistically?
Yeah, again, so it's not that we just have those 23 players that we just try to keep in contact with, and even with the clubs. It's a bunch of players. So we just have to look to really a lot of players and always stay in contact. And again, if we just know who might be selected for the next camp, we just share information with the club. So I know that right now that's a hard task. So we try to share more and more information, and I think that is still growing. So now we're at the point where we getting really professional, I hope, in this. Yeah. So sharing information is just like a big task. So now with Lamar, I'm just like preparing all those sheets that we just get more information, sharing, so that we just get and that they just send us more information from the players.
Okay. Andre?
Bastian, those tough questions Kronke just give you there. I don't want it to seem, we don't want to overwork you here. So how's the camp? How's the camp going so far? What is the camp like? What
camp is great. So I felt very welcome from the first minute. So the first I met was the staff. The staff members are so friendly. They're funny in a way. They're just making always jokes. I don't get every joke because there are a lot of insider jokes. But the camp is great. The players are doing quite well. We don't have really just like, well, we have different kind of players. We have introvert players, we just have loud players, we have funny players. But I think this is just like the normal business in football, and they're just football players. So you just feel it. Yeah.
Do you have any loud or funny managers that we know?
Yeah, but I can't tell.
You can't tell? Okay. So let me ask you, a lot of data has been used, as Stan alluded to earlier, in the game, and data has become part of the game. It's important. We're not gonna, we can't run away from it. But have you, whether it's at the national team level or the club level, have you ever looked at the data, prepared for a session, probably, and then you come in and you look at the players.
You mean the data from the game, or
no? Well, from the last training, from the last session, from the game, for whatever, and you come in and you look at the players and you see something different in terms of what the data show. You think you see something different, and you push the data aside and just deal with your intuition in terms of what you think you're looking at. So, for example, what I'm saying is the data might suggest that the players could do X, Y, Z. So you're prepared for X, Y, Z, and then you come in, the players show up, and to you they look more tired than the data suggested. Have you ever come across that?
Yeah. So the point is, if we just speak about data, it's not only GPS. Yeah. So we just split it into subjective data and objective data.
Okay.
So it's exactly what you said. So if we just look to the numbers from the GPS, he might be ready. Yeah.
Right.
But probably he isn't. Probably he, I don't know, at night he had trouble with his girlfriend or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So in general, you can't find out. And that is why we try to push, for example, those wellness questionnaires. So we ask the players in the morning, how do you feel? How's your training willingness? Yeah. So those kind of things. And in general, data is just like good information, but it's not that we just have to take data for granted that this is going to work because of the data. Yeah. So we just have to talk to the players. We still have people around us. So everyone is just asking, and even this is just like for us data. So even after the training, if we planned the training and we said, okay, that might be a medium training, we asked the players, hi, how was the training? Yeah. So every player just get the number, and if they say, the training was easy, that will have an effect of the next training. Probably it was too light. Even if we felt the training is a middle or hard training. Yeah.
Right.
So then we can adjust the training, and as I said, we're still working with people, so we can ask them if they don't feel good. Yeah, we can ask, hey, how do you feel? How was your sleep? Hey, do you feel tight in your hips today? And then we just make those minor adjustments, even in the training session, even right before training. Yeah, we just say, hey, just try out this stretch here, and probably your hips open up. Yeah, probably try this, try this. If you feel completely tired because of traveling, because of the time shift, step out whenever you want to step out. You're smart enough. Yeah.
So there's everything that we have discussed so far has to do with the physical side of the game. From a fatigue perspective and a preparation perspective. So what about the mental side of the game? Do you get involved in it? Because I mean, when an athlete competes, the body breaks down, as you know, they're physically tired, they need to rebuild to be able to compete again. But there's the mental side of it as well, right?
Yeah, sure. So right now, I think we don't have a psychologist here. I just know that a lot of clubs in Europe are doing it, and I think that will be pushed in future from a lot of nations, from a lot of clubs. So, as you said, that's coming into play. Yeah. And right now, yeah, we just try to keep close contact to the players, asking them, yeah, if there's just like a major problem, probably Heyman will step in. Probably John Wall is stepping in. Yeah, if he just got a good relationship with Gudmundur, he's stepping in. So then it's a thing that will affect all of us. But from the mental side, I totally agree that will be a big thing in future in football. Yeah.
So how do you the level that a player plays at is important. So how do you have you ever had to deal in a national team environment where you have some players who are competing every week at the club level, and then you have some that may not be
Yeah.
competing every week,
Yes.
may not be in the best environment. How do you fuse that? How do you deal with that player? I mean, is it advisable that that player competes at the international level? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So that is exactly the point, that they are coming in with on a different stage sometimes. One player is playing every game in the club, the other one is totally frustrated because he's sitting on the bench all the time. he has no rhythm. Probably, just like the mental thing will pop up. That's always the challenge. So I really can't tell you that there is a framework for it. It's just like talking to them and adjust. So it can be that some of the guys, they just have to do more. Some of the guys, they just have to do less. Probably if if he's not feeling quite well in the club, that happens again to a couple of athletes I had, that they said, no, I want to do strength training, and they don't do strength training in my club. Could also be a problem. So we just try to fix that by providing them those kind of programs. We just teach while they're with us. Yeah, so just like giving them just like hands-on strength training session, exercises, whatever we can provide, we provide to help them.
Okay, a question from in the comment section. Who are some of the mentors that impact your style of your training style and your philosophy and ideas about?
Okay, good question. So if I would talk about mentors, I think what changed my training style was the company Exos, that was former Athletes Performance in Phoenix, Arizona. It's a big company, so I was there 13 years ago because they had a program where they categorized exercises, even movement exercises, and that gave me a good framework. It's not that I just stick to this all the time, so it's just like you can do minor adjustments, and that is the training style I think that works the best if you have a framework for everything. So if you just know exactly, I have an exercise and I can put that exercise in that box, and if I just work in that kind of box, I just pull out the box and take that exercise. So it makes for me no sense having hundreds of exercises, but not knowing what the exercise do. If does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just let us take, for example, a linear skip. Most of the people know what a skip is, right? So just like skipping.
Right.
So I just need to know where to put a linear skip. I don't put it at the beginning of the training because it's a high demanding drill. Yeah. So, and if I look to the movement direction, it's linear. So I put it into the box of linear.
Right.
Yeah. If I just look to stiffness or elastic, for me it's an elastic drill because there's just like a lot of force, a lot of explosiveness in this drill. So I just know already that it's a drill that is probably a movement integration drill, linear, elastic component. Does it make sense? So I know exactly where to put drills to tick the box in the training to make them ready. So I need a progression in training. I just need to have my exercises, and that is always what I tell in lectures and just like interns. You might have a lot of trainers, they just have a bunch of exercises, but using them totally messed up.
Right.
Yeah. So they're just using exercises because they're using exercises.
Right.
Yeah. Not knowing what the exercise do. So I need to really dig deep into those exercises, knowing exactly what they are going to do.
So does that and last question before you stand back. So when you talk about the development of athletes, you have worked at the academy level as well.
Yeah.
If you're one of those trainers that does not know what the exercise does, does it impact the athlete's development negatively?
Yeah, good. Because in general, I always say, coach what you want to coach.
Right.
If you just have a drill and it's coaching probably totally the opposite, the bad thing is not the drill itself. The drill is probably perfect, But if you don't know what you want to do with that drill, and the drill is doing the opposite, then it's your fault as a coach.
Right.
Yeah. So that is why you just need to categorize nearly every drill, and you just know exactly your drill. Doesn't matter. Could be even probably 10 drills. You can work the hell out of 10 drills.
Right. Yeah.
But there is, and that is, I think, the most dangerous thing right now because of all social media. There's a lot of stuff out there. Yeah. If I want to have a good drill, probably a lot of guys are going to YouTube.
Right.
And they're just like copying drills, not knowing what the drill is doing.
Right.
And that's the most dangerous thing if it comes to performance, because there are a bunch of drills out there. Yeah. But not all of them are quite well.
It happened on the football side as well. Stan?
Yeah.
So here's my question. So a football coach can be evaluated and judged based on wins and losses.
Yeah.
Or it may evolve that to be, what's the style of play, what's the system of play, how entertaining they are. But wins and losses are primary criteria. How does one assess success for performance enhancement? What's the criteria used to judge if you're successful or not in the role that you play?
Well, I can take it very easy, Stan, now. I could say if he jumped 30 centimeters and I bring him up to 35, I've done my job. So that's the easy way to do, So performance has the big, I don't know if it's an advantage right now, yeah, but we just have numbers. That is totally different, yeah. Football coaches are sometimes like this, that they just say, I have the feeling, but they don't have numbers for it. Probably just take a guy who's just going 1v1 and he always losing the duel. And probably he's telling me, hey, he's not strong enough. He loses the duel, the 1v1, always, all the time. Yeah, just make him stronger. But probably the case is, if I look to the numbers, they are already good. Yeah, and then I can say, but he's strong. So then, and that would be the challenging part of performance. If you don't look to the official numbers of force mass, jumping height, strength, and all of this stuff, I can measure this. Yeah. So then I have to sit together with the coach, go over video analyzing, and then we probably find that he loses always momentum when he go 1v1, and that's the problem why he loses the duel. So when it comes to numbers, for me, I have the easiest part. Yeah. So I can show, he's getting stronger, he's getting faster, he's getting more jump height, he's losing body fat. Yeah. So that's easy. But again, when it comes to those numbers you can't see, where you just need to have that feeling like, oh, I think he's losing a lot of duels. Yeah. Then we have to sit together, and then we push the numbers away a little bit. We just dig deep into it, and just try to find the solution. Does it make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. So in terms of your role, so you're with the national team.
Yes.
Players are here for 2 games, they're gone again. Are there plans for you to work with local, I'm curious with this word, performance enhancers in Jamaica to help impart to them some of your methodology, skill set, etc.?
Right now, I can't answer that question because I don't know. So I would like to do lectures, because that is what I did in Iceland. I do it right now for the Swiss Federation. I could do it here. I'm ready for it. I have my presentations done. I don't know how that will be in future. So you never know, but just to know, I'm ready for it.
Right. What's the biggest challenge that you have? Coming from a more industrialized environment, more developed countries, a lot of resources, capital and otherwise, what's the biggest challenge in working with organizations or countries which may not have the same level of resources?
Okay, generally speaking, we have football players, and there's just like the environment, so football players are the same. The environment is different, but still the same. Yeah. Right. So even if you just say Switzerland, developed country, okay, yeah, that's true, but they still face same problems, you know. So they still face problems, just like in planning things. You just have, even in the FA, some people who are just like uh, misleading people. You just have micro politics going on. I don't know how it is here because I'm now here for a couple of days, so
Right.
I don't know how it is. So, but I only can tell you, um, nearly in every club and federation I was working with, it was pretty much the same. It was really pretty much the same. One of them were just probably just dealing a little bit faster with problems. One federation was dealing really slow with problems. There was no progress. Yeah. So, but yeah, so that's the only thing I can say right now.
So we're almost end of this segment of the program. We have about 4 minutes left. What is it that you want to impart to the audience that we haven't asked you, or what you haven't spoken about before?
So, in terms of what is important, or did I get you right?
Anything that you can think about, whether you could be anecdotal, what's at least in Jamaica, what you've seen, what you like, what you don't dislike, about the training. What is it in training that we haven't thought about, that we haven't actually, whatever comes to your mind that you want to impart to the audience?
Okay, so we switch back. I remember the question of body composition. Yeah. This is totally different. This is totally different, and that's really nice from a performance standpoint. You know, so if I look to the athletes here, they're totally different. Totally different. They are lean. They just have muscle mass like hell. Yeah, so it's really crazy. You know, I work out, and I still look like the skinny guy from the next door. You know, so I was, and it's a funny thing. So when we were doing pre-exercises before training, Greg Lee was close to me. You know, and he's just jacked. You know, and I was just like, "Hey, Greg, you're working out like hell, huh?" And he was just like, "No, I'm not." And I was just like, "No, you're lifting weights." And he was, "Oh, no, I am not lifting weights." And I was just like, "Damn, you just have arms like legs." And he's just like, "No, it's natural."
Yeah, arms like
so
legs.
so that's the whole different thing here.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what do I need to do to get buff? I was going to ask you that. That's what we're going to get to, which is, how do I, I want to get buff. Why do I get buff?
Yeah, well, here you don't have to do this. They're just like, they're massive, you know, and they have so the athletes here, they have so they have capabilities you can dream of, you know. So they are just like raw pure athletes. So this is why it's a total different thing. Like in Europe, you just have to work out your ass off in the gym to look like a little bit lean, you know, and here they are just like strong, you know. I know
does
it's
that have to do with food?
To shake hands here,
right? Yeah. How does the food factor into that? How does diet and food factor into that?
Yeah, I think that's a big number, you know, because I think everybody learned who's in Jamaica for a couple of days. You eat chicken like hell, you know. So they have protein sources. They have brown rice. So nearly everything what you just want to have in nutrition, they have it here. They're doing it right. Yeah. So that's the main thing. When I was traveling with Liechtenstein now, or with Iceland, we always had the problem to get a lot of proteins. Here, you probably get too much proteins, you know. So they are just like in chicken and meat and so from my perspective, and even if a nutrition specialist will jump in, he will be job done. I don't have to do anything here. So yeah, it's great.
Andre, any last question for Sebastian?
Yeah, some of that, Sebastian, is our blessing as well.
Thank you.
it's I'm sorry, but I had to throw that in there. It's not just what we eat, but you know, it's who we are. You know, you said something just now, and this you may not be able to let's see if you can deal with this for me here. You said something just now that speed I'm paraphrasing you. Speed solves all of the problem.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that earlier on. And that strike me. You know, I can cover 20 yards as a player at the fastest speed and get there and lose that duel or don't get the job done because I have not thought about what I'm going to do when I get there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So could you clarify that a little bit for us?
Fast but
that
foolish.
is yeah, that is true. But honestly, that's not my problem anymore.
Okay.
So probably that's the coach stuff. You know, so I know.
It's Andre, by the way. That is Andre's either. He's not Andre's.
But you know, he was fast though, not knowing what he was doing, but he was fast. So I make a checkbox. Yeah, I did my job. No, sure. Yeah, that's the biggest problem. So we need to solve that as well, right?
Yeah. Well, when you sit with the coach, you guys probably work that out. Look, how have you been? You've been in Jamaica a couple of days. It sounds as though that your arrangement is long term. You're going to be there for a while with the national setup, which is good. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Have you eaten any of the Jamaican food so far?
All of the Jamaican food, yeah.
You have. So jerk
what do you
chicken,
mean? What does Olaf mean? What does Olaf mean? Olaf is very broad.
All what is offered here. All what is offered here. I don't know all the names. You know, I know.
Ackee and saltfish. Have you had that? Have you had that?
Yes.
Yes. You like it?
Yes. I had those fried things. Today I had banana chips.
Right.
So Lamar offered me a bunch of banana chips. Honestly, I don't like bananas, but they were great. They didn't taste like bananas. So I was just like, whoa, this is banana? So yeah, so when there's dinner time or lunchtime, I try to get a plate and try to put a little bit of everything.
Right.
Because I know I'm not a spicy guy. And well, it's spicy. So I know I have to be really, really backed up with all the food, you know, because otherwise I will be like, oh, this is spicy. So I try and I like it. I like the chicken here. And yeah, even the spiciness, it's not that spicy. Yeah, so I survived till now. No, it's great food. As I said, they're doing.
Well, that's funny because Coach Hagrimson wasn't impressed by the food, by the way. He was interviewed when he first came and he was asked about the food and he wasn't impressed. Now, maybe things have changed because he's been acclimated somewhat, but initially he wasn't.
I think the point is what we are struggling with is that it's always chicken.
Okay.
That's the point. But as I said, well, I don't get my protein shakes here, so it's quite nice.
So, just so you know, and this may be a little bit, this may cause some comments in the comment section. I know you said the food is great. The best food in the Caribbean is in Trinidad and Tobago. So just so you know that.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to mislead you.
Yeah, no, we don't want to mislead you. I think he misspoke. It happened. Don't worry about it, Sebastian. It happens. When you're second best, you always try to promote yourself as the best, Sebastian. But it's Jamaica.
No.
There's no question.
No.
But hey, Sebastian, it's been wonderful having you, frankly.
Thank you so much.
Glad to have you. Great talking to you. Hope you have immense success with the national team. And hope you get to impart your knowledge to others involved in football in Jamaica. Because I do think the sports is becoming so scientific that whatever one can do to increase one's performance and differentiate oneself is an imperative that must be explored. So hopefully you get a chance to really impart your knowledge in that environment.
Yeah, I have so saying. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sebastian.
Peace out.
Thank you, Andrew.
Sebastian.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, Andre, that was a good discussion. Did you learn something? Because I know you run an academy. Do you use a performance enhancer in your academy?
Look, I no, we don't have someone by that title. But, I get up every day interested in learning something, you know. So I thought it was a good discussion. I thought it was a good discussion. It was informative. It for me, we know that the national team environment is different. I think one of the things that's important that he shared that I think is important that doesn't happen, probably doesn't happen in most of the teams in the region, from talking to different coaches or what, that exchange of information between the football club and the national team,
right.
I think is important, because at the end of the day, the football,
you know you're gonna get enough grief about that. You know you're gonna get a lot of grief, right? You know you're gonna get grief galore.
He said it's blasphemous. That exchange at the end of the day, the athlete is an asset to the football club, and taking care of the asset is important, and it seems as though they're getting that right, or they're making a serious effort into getting that right. And I think when fans look at the game and they see the performance level and they don't, on the days that it doesn't work out, there's a lot of criticism sometimes, and that is void of information that might help us all understand exactly what's happening, So for me, it was a good conversation.
No, it was. His English is excellent, and people don't realize that sometimes people come from this different environment. They have to learn a new language, and the language sometimes don't align well. It's not like Spanish and English, which is not that far away. So interesting, actually. So we're going to pivot to Nations League. We can first talk about the earlier games, which are on tomorrow, and your beloved Trinidad against the USA. I'm just smiling thinking about that game. I'm gonna let you talk to the audience. I'm gonna take a step away for a minute. I'm gonna talk to the audience. Explain to them.
There's not much. There's not much to talk about. It's a big game.
No. You just talk about Trinidad being great and you're great cook, because everything you compare, you say you guys are great. So tell the audience how you're gonna. I'm gonna step away for 1 second. Tell them we're gonna do the game tomorrow. Explain to them about the Trinidad team and the US team. I expect to go perform. I'll be back in a second.
I don't know how you can draw a line between cooking and the game tomorrow. That's very creative.
Yeah. I'll be back in 1 second.
Okay. While standards, look, Trinidad is competing against the USA tomorrow at 9 p.m. in Houston. It's a game, if we've been paying attention, the US has a very, very strong roster, with majority of the guys playing in Europe, and at some of the bigger clubs in Europe. So it's going to be a difficult game. It's going to be a game that Trinidad need to win. But when you look at the two rosters and where the players are competing, the US obviously would be favored to win the game. But I know that Trinidad and Tobago would go into the game trying to get a result, trying to get a favorable result. That is, it happened before, but of course that's.
I'm listening to you talk about results against the US. What are you gonna do? Have them not turn up?
Well, I mean, the game has to be played, and the game is played on the pitch. I mean, where these players play and everything is important, but the game has to be played on the pitch, and Trinidad is gonna attempt to be disruptors tomorrow, rightfully so, and we'll see what happens. The US have players that play at Juventus and some of the biggest clubs in Europe, so they're gonna be favorites to win the game. But we'll see what happened. The last time Trinidad competed against the USA, the game was in the Gold Cup. The US did not have most of the players that is in the squad for this window, and the score was 6-0. But then you can't do nothing about that, but you could attempt to affect the game coming up. So
I figure a goal. What's a goal every 6 minutes?
A goal every 6 minutes.
That's about 15. It's about 15. It's about 15.
I don't know. Look, we football is a funny game, right? It's the most we call it heartless, and among myself and my colleagues, because it's a very heartless game. When the US played in Trinidad, not the last World Cup, the World Cup before, and didn't qualify, they needed to win that game to qualify. And there was a situation where, it rained, you're in a Caribbean island, it rained, place floods sometimes. We're surrounded by water. There's not much you can do about that. And there was a little bit of flooding, and I think they took to social media and
Andre calling down nature.
Made a little fun of that. And
Andre, what a natural event for this. Okay, look. Trinidad is falling off quite a bit, because I remember mid-90s. I go back to mid-90s. The US came to your house and beat you 1-0 to go to the World Cup, which was heartbreaking for Trinidad. Stadium packed, colors flashing. But those were the glory days. How do you get back to your glory days, Andre? Because I'm not going to watch the game tomorrow. I may not watch the game because I'm concerned about the psyche of Trinidad after that game, given that US is going to have their full team.
Look, to get back to those days, the football needs to develop. There need to be the clubs need to be developing footballers on the ground. There need to be a league in Trinidad and Tobago that could expose the players so that they can get into markets outside of Trinidad and Tobago. There needs to be a development pathway in place. And, I speak to people all the time, and there's an effort to put that back into place. But it all comes down to leadership in the end, right? There's potentially an election coming up. And my opinion is if the right people don't get into that leadership role to help develop the football and start thinking about what's best for the players, what's best for the young players in Trinidad and Tobago, then it may be even longer before we get back to those days. But there's talent on the island, for sure. In Trinidad and Tobago, there's talent, but there must be a clear pathway. When you reflect on the discussion that we just had, right? Does that exist in terms of working with young athletes and that kind of stuff? And that's just a small part of the game. So development is needed. A clear pathway is needed so that players could and families could decide, I want to play professional football. I want my son or daughter to play professional football. And they can see a pathway where they can trust and know that they give themselves a chance to make the game to have turn it into a profession. Football must become an industry in Trinidad and Tobago, in the region, in order for us to get back to those days. I don't think we're going to get back, because when you look at the last of the players we developed, the last of the players, they're at the back end of the game now, right, that we invested in, was guys like Kevin Molino, who now is in the back end of his career in the MLS. And that group of players went to the World Cup, right? I think we defeated Jamaica 1-0 in Jamaica to get to the World Cup. And they went to the under-17 and under-20 World Cup. And that investment they invested in those players. They had friendlies, they were prepared properly to compete to get to those tournaments. When you look at what's happening now with some of the younger teams, the under 15 and under 17, they're not getting the same quality of exposure in order to be competitive and grow as players. The under 15 before they competed in the last tournament had 2 practice games. They both were against Jamaica. So there's a long way to go. The talent is there. We were there before, but that's only good for memory. Is how could we connect where we are now to the future so that we can get players into some of these markets so that we could be competitive on the international.
So Devin is saying you should commit suicide.
Not me. I don't have no reason to.
Devin says you have nothing to lose. Go and attack the US. Go and attack a very offensive team and leave yourself open defensively is what I think about it.
Look,
I think you should just go low block with 11 people and hope that you don't get blown away. That's how I view it.
Devon probably doesn't coach because he would know that you need the ball to go on the offense, right?
You're gonna check USA, that may be suicide. That is from where
I am sure the coach would come up with a plan. There's evidence, he did it 2 Gold Cups ago against Mexico and got a point.
Right.
And so I'm sure he would reflect on that, and he would try to come up with a plan that that could bring similar results or better results. The question always is, would it work? Would it work against this current group of U.S. players?
So in other games, Costa Rica is playing Panama. What are your thoughts on that game? We won't go through all the games. What are your thoughts? Andre just left us, but
I don't want man.
So Andre has just stepped away. So the other game I think that makes sense to talk about tomorrow is the Costa Rica Panama game. Somehow, some way, some shape, Costa Rica always finds a way. Don't ask me how. They have been a little bit seasoned, been around a long time, many of their players. They're trying to change out their team now, but they always seem to end up in a good place, whether it's the World Cup, whatever competition it is. They're always somewhere in the top 4 someplace. What are your thoughts on the Panama-Costa Rica game?
Look, I think that's a good matchup. Costa Rica, as a country, I think they both understand world football. They've had those exposures playing in the World Cup and stuff. Costa Rica, I think, probably more than Panama. So it's always a good matchup. Costa Rica, I expect Costa Rica to get the better of Panama in that game. But Panama, over the years, is able to surprise you. You're never sure what you're going to get from Panama in any given game. They're not. You can't discard them. You have to always recognize that they have a chance to get a result in some of these games. So,
right. Tomorrow, go ahead. Sorry.
I would expect Costa Rica to get the upper hand.
So the games tomorrow, Trinidad play the US at 9 p.m. I was saying it was 7, it's 9.
Yeah.
Then the Costa Rica Panama is an hour after that. So if you watch the first half of the Trinidad and US game, you don't have to watch the second half. You can just transfer over to the Costa Rica Panama game because it's maybe very.
Hey, you might be surprised. Don't be knocking. You might be surprised because look. No one expected Trinidad to be in this position that we're in right now. Isn't that correct?
True. But I'm sure people like Balagan are trying to prove a point and coming, and he's playing well, by the way, for Monaco. And between the Reyners and the Pulisic and the Musas and the
Pulisic is not there.
The name is not playing.
No, he's injured.
Okay. And that's a good thing for Trinidad, by the way. Yeah, he always does well against the Caribbean team.
Even Ware is not there at the moment as well.
Yeah, I didn't mention Ware, but I think isn't Reyna there? Because I know Reyna, the coach,
Reyna is on the roster.
They don't have Adams. Adams has been out for a while, actually. But they still have very good players. It doesn't really matter. They have a litany of players nowadays. So.
Yeah, I think the roster only have one player that plays in the MLS. I think everybody else plays outside in Europe.
Right. Okay.
So it's look, it's gonna be a tough game. There's no secret in that. So we'll see.
Where's the game being played? In Texas?
Yeah, in Houston, I think it is.
Oh, so it's too far from where you are. What's it, a 6-hour drive?
It's going to be cold. No, I've never driven. I think it's longer than that. I've never driven to Texas. Okay. And I just did 14 hours round trip recently. So over the past few days. So I'm kind of good.
Okay. So now on Friday, we have Jamaica playing against Canada. What's your thoughts on that game?
That's a tough game. So right now the history is with Canada, right? The history is with Canada. So I think the responsibility right now lies on Jamaica to show that look, we have resources in terms of what we put in the pitch. We have players playing at the highest level of the game. I mean, when you look at what Jamaica can put on the pitch in the front 3, 4, 5 players, so I think this is an opportunity for Jamaica to say, look, we are a serious contender at this level, you know. So
right.
I think the onus is on Jamaica to step up and say, because we are ready to compete. And to be honest, I think you would agree that with the resources that Jamaica haven't really, there was the U.S. game in the Gold Cup, and was it the Panama game? But there's not been
we didn't play Panama in the U Cup. We played.
No,
we played USA, and we should have won that game. We missed a penalty in that game, didn't we?
Yeah. Who was the semifinal?
Not a penalty, but we missed a sitter in that game. Yeah, no, it was a penalty. We got a rebound and we kicked it outside.
Who was the semifinal game against?
We played Mexico, right?
But I think my point is that there's not been a consistent string of performances, right? And I think there's not a better time to start showing that than now. So Jamaica would need to be at their best or very close to it. There's a good Canadian team. They have players playing at the highest level as well. They're one of the powerhouses in the region. So there's not a better time to show up now for Jamaica to announce that it has arrived on that scene to be competitive in that space.
Yeah, my concern is all the players fit, because I realize Antonio, I'm not sure if it's a coach's decision or not, didn't play the last maybe couple of games for West Ham. He wasn't starting. And we know he has muscle injuries. I don't know the fitness of Bailey, because sometimes you get nicked up last game before you come over. I know the fitness of Bailey or Gray or Latibadir. So I'm hoping everyone is fit. And we'll see on Friday what the case is. But I hope everyone is fit. And then we can pick our best team. We still have concerns about the midfield. I expect DJ to play there. I think he'll use his normal 4 forwards if they are all available. And he's going to play Lati. I think that's probably the way it's been trending so far. I know K-Roy played one of the games the other day and looked decent. And also the defense, Lowe had some challenging times the last series around, and Hector came in on the previous game and played well. So we'll see what he does. So he does have some option, actually. Pinnock is here. So he does have some option. I think the defense looked pretty good apart from right back. Midfield is challenging, good forwards. So as you're saying, we have quality players, and there's no time like the present for those players to show their worth, show their capability, and do the talking on the field. So hopefully it'll be a good round of games for Jamaica, the 2 games. Canada will be a little bit chilly, but we're playing in the office on Friday. And those of you who are in the chat in Jamaica or even here who are traveling, go to the game, support the team. You need to hear some noise in the stadium. All those players come from far, basically, not even near and far, mostly far, and they come to the office. They're used to playing in front of large crowds, and we're not supporting them. So we have to change how we operate in Jamaica in terms of supporting the national team, going to the games. It's not overly expensive. I know people are complaining about price, but if you can go to Chris Brown concert, you can go to the Jamaica football game. That's the way I view it. So hopefully tomorrow. I mean, not tomorrow. Well, hopefully tomorrow Trinidad will play well. Will play well. I'm talking low. Hopefully Trinidad will play well and give a good account of themselves. And hopefully on Friday, Jamaica will also play really well, and not only give a count, but put it on Canada. Beat the team and then go to Canada and get a good result, so we don't have to worry about the other way to try to qualify. We can qualify directly and play against some of the big boys. And if those players want to play against some of the better players in the world, which is a prelude to when you're qualifying for the World Cup and getting to the World Cup, then you need to come out and put up on Friday and put up the following Tuesday in Canada. So my hope is that we do well. I expect us to do well, but we'll see. It should be interesting.
Is coaches just laughing at the comment before Mr. United?
What was the comment?
As a team. I'm not sure if he said,
what is the concept of Panama? What does it mean by Panama as a team?
Yeah, I'm not so sure. But he certainly is laughing at something. Look, we had this discussion before in terms of where the game is being played in Jamaica. It's playing at the same place as the last game, and the idea that the size of the pitch can affect Jamaica's ability to express themselves, to utilize the full assets that they have, but they're back at the same location. So
Devon says, Andre, the Canadian team is okay team, not a powerhouse. I'm not afraid of this Canadian team. Canada is a wounded team right now, so Jamaica will win.
All right, so what is this song like? I'm not afraid of no Argentina, no Brazil.
He needs to change the introduction.
Yeah,
we're gonna help him change the introduction.
I understand that, but
we're not telling him to be afraid. We're just saying be respectful.
Yeah, you got to use the word
afraid. Be respectful, because Canada may not have the best players on paper, but they play as a team, right? They're well coordinated. They didn't do great in the Gold Cup, but it wasn't their best team either. This will be their better team. In the Gold Cup, they didn't take all their best players. They're going to bring all their best players for this Nation League, so we have to respect them. I don't know what their injury record is like, because a lot of times players finish playing for their club teams, and last game, they don't come out of those situations too well. As we just heard from Sebastian, he tried to help them with their performance enhancement. So the hope is that all our players are healthy, and we'll see what happens with the Canadian team. I'm sure they're coming to win, because everybody wants to play against the better players in the world. And South America has some of the best players, so I'm sure they're going to come to win.
Well, you can't. There's a reason why they are playing in this leg and not in the previous leg, right? So they have achieved a status in the region that you have to respect. So, but again, the game must be played, and it would be decided on the day.
So Chris is asking, who do we have better than Alphonso Davies? I don't know. Alphonso can only play one position. Either playing out wide, he's not going to play right or left back as he does for Bayern. So I think he's going to play probably one of the more forward position. But I mean, when we play Canada, Alphonso plays well, but it's not like he's totally dominating the game. And we have players who can hurt him. I mean, the Baileys and the Grays and the Antonios and the Stewarts of the world, if he gets an opportunity, they can hurt most teams. So my expectation would be, and that's what the concern is about the midfield, which is we have all these very good offensive players, but we have to get the ball to them. And we don't want to go the long ball route, as we do sometimes, because that's doesn't give you the best probability or possibility of getting the ball to its destination. So we do have to figure out ways to move the ball upfield and to get it to our more dangerous players. And we haven't been the best at doing so. We play a lot of, sometimes too much long ball. I am pleased to see Pinnock back, because I do think Pinnock puts the ball on the ground and get the ball out to his left back mainly, or to his midfielder, and sometimes he can go across field and gets to his destination. I don't know if Lowe is going to play, but if Lowe is watching this program, if you're playing Lowe, please play the ball on the ground and play to the person of the same jersey as you. It goes long a lot of times without, and please show some composure when you're playing. Let your midfielders and go right back to the tackle. Be the last player. I was checking some stats the other day, Andre, and you notice that players like Pinnock and Saliba don't get yellow cards. Saliba hasn't had a yellow this season. I think Pinnock hasn't had a yellow this season. And they're to the better defense in the Premier League. So it tells you a lot about how those players play, which is read the game, anticipate, win the ball without having to put them on the ground. Don't put yourself in dangerous positions. More importantly, make good decisions. So my hope is that Lowe will do that, because I think he's a good player.
Think about what you're going to do while you travel to get there.
Exactly. Well, that was just ask the performance enhancer in Sebastian, which is I make you run fast, and he says the most differentiating quality, and you get your destination, you have no idea what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, I think one of the things in the region that I've always find interesting, that we speak about our athleticism, and I listen to coaches talk about it when you talk about how the national team should play in various islands. There's this massive emphasis on our athleticism, our physicality, and nobody seems to believe that we can approach the game from an intellectual perspective and allow our athleticism to be the icing on the cake, the thing that takes us to the next level. So I think we have that kind of, it seems that we have that kind of back to front. It's always talk about our speed, our strength, and yes, it's an asset, but the game has a intellectual side of it too, that as we develop players, we should be seeking to make that the focus.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think the thing that eludes us sometimes, and we don't seem to realize when you get to a certain level, is decision making. Right. How do I make the best decision, not just a good decision, the best decision good in facts and circumstances? If I watched Chelsea play Man City the other day and was Sterling on the ball, even though he's dribbling a bit and he's taking on his man, you can see the way he's maneuvering, he's thinking simultaneously, right? Do I go left? Do I go right? Do I go straight? I'm going to beat this man. But even in the middle of beating a man, he's seeing a pass. If you look at the one he gave to Gusto, the one he gave to Borja, the last ball he gave, people were talking about Palmer a lot, but what they haven't realized during the game was how great the decision making was in the final third that created opportunities for his team. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Decision making is key.
Yeah, I mean, look, as a footballer, what we look at when we're watching a football game is, and what make the difference between players and different level of players is the player's ability to be aware of what the options are, choose the right option as you just mentioned, and then execute whatever decision they make, the execution of the decision that they made. So, and that's what players are doing all the time throughout the game. And if the decision is not right and the execution is not right, then those are the moments that could hurt you in the game, depending on the area of the pitch that is happening. So, I think I'm trying to look at the Canadian roster here, because I saw somebody said in the comment section.
Well, they don't have the most name, right? Apart from Davies, Alfonso and Buchanan and Davids, who plays in France. Who's actually regressed a little bit, I think, from where he was before. Junior Hoylett is getting seasoned or more senior. They don't have a lot of name players per se, right? They have Kone, they have a few players, but they work well as a team and in tandem. And I think people sometimes don't realize how much you have good players who work seamlessly as a team versus you have excellent individual players who lack synergies, lack connectivity, lack how they align and how they approach the game. You can overcome that with the teamwork versus just individual skill. And I've always said this, which is we have operated quite a bit as individuals for the Jamaica team. I think we're seeing more of that collective approach in how we operate more recently, as the players are playing more and more together. Coach Hangramson's bringing a lot of the same players in the squad. You may have 80%, 90% of players who come for the last 2, 3, 4 windows. After a while, you build up that camaraderie, you build up that cohesiveness, which hopefully translate on the field to positive outcomes. So would love to see that the players really connect well going forward. And we keep a core group as we move forward and think about World Cup qualification, which commences next year?
Well, look, Rob Smith is making some comments in the chat section, and and I think that's not how relevant. We don't know. There's no way for us to know the moral of the team. Yes, there are issues. I don't know if you could name a lot of federations that does not have zero issues.
We have no issues in the Caribbean. Trinidad have no issues. Jamaica have no issues.
Yeah,
we're wonderful. We're wonderful.
At the end of the day, these are footballers. They're professional footballers, and they accept a call up, and they're gonna come and try to get a result. They're gonna come to perform because this is what they do. So, most of the times we see performances on the pitch, and we forget that sometimes the players haven't been paid. There are all sorts of things that may not be going in the right direction. So footballers do what they have to do when the time comes most of the time. So I wouldn't worry too much about if you start thinking about the problems that they have, then it might just put you in a position to underestimate them on game day.
Yeah, I don't think we think about what's at stake, right? These players get to play next year in a really a tournament that has a lot of visibility to it, that affects their brand, and want to play against the best players. So why wouldn't you want to win this 2-match series and go play against the Argentinas, the Brazils next year? Why wouldn't you want to do that, along with the top teams in your region? So you have an incentive to want to go out and perform. So why wouldn't you do so, regardless of your situation with your federation or animosity you have with your federation? Why wouldn't you want to do that? I think if I was a player, I want to come and win these games so I can go, demonstrate my capabilities on a large platform.
Yeah, and for the federations, and which it's supposed to trickle down to the player, if it's the issues about revenue, it's an opportunity to earn revenue as well. When you play, if you play against the likes of Brazil and Argentina, there's going to be lots of people in the stands. So, and that generates revenue, sponsorship, whatever the case may be. So, I think the only thing that matters right now for any of these teams is to prepare and go and look for a result in the game, and that does include Trinidad and Tobago as well, despite your intent to make.
I'm not sure how Trinidad comes to this conversation a while ago. Like, we're talking about a team that has a chance to have a positive outcome in Jamaica. And Andre went all the way to Trinidad, which is going to play the U.S. The last thing to play the U.S. with the team they're going to use tomorrow. What was the score? 6? And the U.S. was not at full strength.
Yeah.
I am just praying. You know what? Tonight, before I go to bed, I'm going to pray for Trinidad. Say, Lord, please keep it below 10. Please keep it below 10. I want to pray for it.
It's not going to be like that. It's not going to be like that. Trust me. You I don't want to. Your comments, not you. Your comments a little cataractish.
Yeah, it looks like something is rubbing off.
Yeah.
Look, I think Trinidad should play smart tomorrow. I don't think they should follow Devon's advice. I think you play low block with a hope of some counteracting football, right? You play low block with a hope that, you know what, I catch you on the counter, I score, and I lock shot. That's the way I see it.
But you don't want to hope. You got to have a plan to counterattack, right? Hope. If you're hoping, that's not.
Well, no. Look. Here's my philosophy in counterattacking football. I keep my fastest, most skillful player at the halfway line. You want to attack with your 11 players, you do so. Hopefully, I can get the ball. I can get the ball off you, kick it upfield, and he goes chase it. That's the way. Then they got two players back, because you don't want to keep one player against a quick, skillful player. So then you have one less attacking player that approaches me. That's the way I view that. Actually,
look, if
most coaches would have all 10 in defense, I don't believe in that strategy.
If you have the right type of players, I mean, you can play counter-attacking football with, if you get the right type of players together, and you put in place a plan that the players can execute, then, because having the ball could work against you as well. Having too much of the ball, you get overconfident. Like I heard one coach said before, you can drown them in honey. They have the ball, they keep coming, and you just look for that moment that you can hurt them. So, but the game is 90 minutes long, and we'd see what happens. It's just it's probably 24 hours away, a little less than 24 hours away. So we'd wait and see.
So Chris asking, who are the top 3 keepers in Concacaf? I would say Mexico's keeper, Ochoa, Costa Rica's keeper, and Jamaica's keeper. That's the way I would think about it. Who do you think are the top 3?
I wouldn't disagree with that. I think definitely, Gray and his.
But Navas has kept at the highest level, right, for years. He's getting older now. Ochoa has kept at a high level. And Blake has been a top keeper in MLS for years. So sharing with Turner, who's now in the UK. So to me, those are probably the top three. You can choose what order you want to choose them in. People may say Blake played at a lower level, so he's not there, but it may be Navas, Ochoa, and then Blake. When I think about it that way. But they're all good keepers, by the way.
Yeah, they're all good goalkeepers.
The interesting thing is I don't think Navas or Blake are great with their feet, frankly. And I think I rate Wade quite a bit, actually. I think Wade is a good keeper for Jamaica. And if we lose Blake, he won't embarrass himself, frankly.
He has done the times that we have seen him, he has done good.
Yeah, he's done well, and he's good with his feet also. He seems very composed for a keeper. So I think that Jamaica is in good stead as it relates to goalkeeping. I think our biggest challenge and our biggest opportunity reside in the midfield. And you know what? I've been thinking about this for a while, Andre, and midfielders in Jamaica, actually. We seem to produce a lot of forwards, even locally, that play on the national stage. And some decent defenders and good goalkeepers. We don't produce excellent midfielders.
Yeah. I
can go back to Alan Skillcole days, and you come forward, maybe Whitmore a little bit, but we don't produce a lot of very, very good midfielders who can compete at a very high level.
If the focus, as we discussed just now, this hypothetically is on speed, right? You want somebody to run in behind to score goals at an early age, and then you want somebody that quick to stop that person, right? So maybe we put our emphasis on,
So you know what it tells me is coaching. I'm telling you, it's coaching. Coaching.
Yeah.
Especially midfielders, coaching is an imperative. And I think if you don't have excellent coaches, then it's very, very difficult to develop excellent midfielders. Because they say forward, you need speed and skill. We all learn to beat a man in the park when we're growing up. And the speed comes naturally. Then you don't have to make a ton of good decision making. Just go towards the goal. And they say defensively, you go chase somebody and take the ball off them. But midfield is a whole different way of thinking in terms of how you play. So someone mentioned Jermaine Hugh, but Jermaine didn't play at the highest level. And Jermaine didn't play defense. Jermaine is a very good decision maker on the ball, great passer, see the play before it develops, but he didn't play at the highest level. And one could talk about McGee, some people talk about Winston Anglin, good player, but we're talking about where the Fullers play, for example, right? We're talking about where a local player has gotten to like the Premier League or the French League or La Liga. We have a few forwards who have. We don't have any. Even the overseas-born players who come into our team, think about it. Even the overseas-born players, which try to go to your point a little bit, Andre, who come into our team from the UK, we have very good forwards with the great Antonios of the world and Bobby Reeds of the world. Very good defenders in terms of Pinnock and Amari Bell and those players. Where are the midfielders that we say have differentiating quality? We have none that plays in the Premier League, not one who is of Jamaican descent that we can say pinpoint to. We keep talking about Hayden quite a bit, but he's now in the Championship, not at Newcastle anymore. And he wasn't a differentiator. So we don't produce a lot of excellent midfielders, and that's a concern, frankly, because that's what the core of that's your core.
It is for me it's understandable in some context. It's almost like the quarterback syndrome, right? It's one of those things where there's always somebody better, right? Who can do it. So we have to take control of that and make sure that we are working with players from a cerebral perspective. I think it's important. It's very easy sometimes to throw names out there in terms of who's better and whatever the case may be, but sometimes there's no context. Sometimes you catch a player that have a good tournament or is in a good moment, but is that player able to do that consistently over a long period of time? So sometimes we throw names out about who is better than who is the best at the moment, and it's only at the moment when we think about it. Lionel Messi and them have been good over a long period of time for years. Every season they show up and and perform. So I don't know. So let's see what.
I mean, it's think about it. We have produced like Luton Sheltons of the world, Ricardo Fullers of the world, Bibi Gardner play defense. We haven't produced any midfielders who played in the Premier League locally, or any that plays in Premier League that are born overseas. None that I can think of. Not one. Not one. That is, Luton Shelton played in Premier League, Fuller played Premier League, Bibi Gardner played Premier League, Antonio, Gray, Bailey, Pinnock, Maribel, Lambert Casey played a few games. I'm just going through players, right, who have played there. I cannot name you one midfielder who's played Premier League football who's played for Jamaica.
I think. Look, and I'll be clear about it. All of those players you talk about, what is the asset that they have? Speed, right? And a lot of times when young players coming through and they have those assets, I don't think anybody is thinking about playing the game from a mental perspective, right? They're put where they can have an effect to help win a game, whatever the case may be. So I think depending on speed and physicality, I think could be the reason why, because playing in the midfield, when you look at the likes of Busquets and those guys, Busquets is no terrific. He's an athlete, but he's not quick. He's not, what we talk about like a Antonio or somebody like that. But he's very smart. His speed is in his head, right? And I'm not sure that we appreciate that type of player enough.
So, but somebody saying Darrell Power, somebody say Jermaine Johnson. They may have played at some point, but maybe that's right. Actually, I gotta go back and check. Actually, but I can't recall anybody with a sustained career that plays at that level as a midfielder. Played for Jamaica quite a bit, so maybe I got to do some more research. But the point I'm trying to make is that we need quality midfielders. You got to be able to connect your defense to your forward without going over the top to do so.
I think we need quality.
Ravel played in the Premier League, but Ravel played a few games for West Ham and then disappeared. Ravel showed the quality that he has, but he played a few games and he played well for some games, but he wasn't reliable in terms of what he needed to do to stay in the league. So
those are not easy positions to develop players for. It takes quite a bit of honing to get players for those positions that's really high quality. So
right.
It's an area that we need to focus on.
Yeah. So what are your parting words, Andres? It's almost time for me to go to bed, as you know. 10 o'clock is my sign now.
Yeah,
so
I feel the same.
What are your parting words? A good discussion with Sebastian. Learned quite a bit about performance enhancement versus just physical training. The differentiation. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it was a good discussion. He communicated well. He seems a quite easy guy to communicate with. I'm sure the players in the space would enjoy him. He seems honest, which is important. I think sometimes when people come to the region, there's this conversation about, well, we're not here to tell you what to do. We're here to learn about what you do. And I don't find that to be genuine sometimes. I think you're coming in to help improve the environment, right? Understanding what we do is important, right? But then the idea is to improve the environment. So I didn't hear that from him, which I think is good. He's bringing his expertise to bear, and that's why he's there to help enhance performance. So I thought it was a good discussion.
Yeah, no, hopefully, everything's become much more technical nowadays. Maybe it's the whole concept of technology and how we become much more precise in what we do. But I do think if you want to get ahead of your competition, and if you want to differentiate yourself from the competition, as we have seen, for example, with India, with cricket, which is a perfect example of how money helps you can develop your program, given where India was in the 60s, 70s, and even 80s, and where they are today. And in the US is a good example, having resources. England is a good example. The more resources you have, the more you can explore things that you want to do to help improve what you do and how you do it. In our region, we may not have the same resource, but we got to leverage what we have, explore what we have to help us improve the product we put on the field. And my hope is that, tomorrow Trinidad can do well. I'm actually serious about it against the US. Jamaica can do well Friday against Canada. We need the Caribbean countries to step forward, be given opportunities, because the more you play, the more you win, the more resources you generate, the more you can reinvest in your program, and that becomes a continuum. Versus you do well once, Trinidad go to one World Cup, Jamaica go to one World Cup, and that's it. We don't see them again for another 30, 40 years. That doesn't help you. We see how much the girls made from the World Cup, which was substantive, frankly. Get to the World of 16. The teams like Trinidad and Jamaica should be thinking about that for the next World Cup to say, you know what? We have good players now. Let's add to that to help us get the optimum team in play for qualification. And you qualify, you go to the World Cup, you do well, and you keep the momentum going. So let's hope that's the case.
Yeah, it's all about leadership, good leadership at the top.
Yes. And that's what something that we, you could have no different avenue now, though, Andre, which is, we're not talking about the leadership at the top. We're not talking about leadership at the top because we know we're challenged. So let's pivot from that and think, you know what? Let's get the best players, and we hope we have a good coach on the field, because we know a leadership at the top, both in Trinidad and Jamaica, is not where it needs to be.
Well, look, without good leadership, you can't. I don't know how far good players would take you.
No, you got to get there despite leadership or lack thereof.
Well, it's that's a lot we're putting on the player's shoulder there. We can do.
I agree, but I agree, but you know what? This is also about them. They are getting the notoriety. They're getting the visibility. They're getting the stage. It's their brand. They should go maximize their ability on the field, produce. They're going to go to the World Cup. You know how valuable that is as a player to see you went to the World Cup, you perform well. Not only do you make it financial rewards, you get personal gratification. Your family feel good about what you do. You can walk around with your chest high. Sorry, they need to take responsibility.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It becomes less and less likely if there isn't leadership, because it's important. It's just so important that you put things in place to help the players to perform. Right? You just have to.
But we have operations, Andre. Remember Jamaica women's football team? They did go to the round of 16 despite some of the challenges. So there are examples out there to leverage. Yeah.
So maybe they could have gotten to the semifinal. Maybe.
Okay, Andre, that sounds like Trinidad beating the US tomorrow. Okay, Andre.
No, it's tournament football, and you don't know what happens sometimes, because look, I could also point out the other side of the argument. You have England with a lot of resources, right? And they can't win a tournament they can't buy one if you try to sell it to them. It look like, right? So
that's true.
There's both sides of the argument, but we need to find that middle ground. We need to find that place that could allow us to compete with the best.
No, I don't disagree with the leadership, right? But we're not going to get it anytime soon. And the way the electoral process in Jamaica, we're not going to get it for another 4 years. So we have to pivot and rethink this and focus on, hope the coach implement a strategy and a process to get the best players, organize them, make them a cohesive unit, put them on the field, and hopefully we get good outcome. And I wish the same for Trinidad, frankly, because I think Trinidad needs to do what Jamaica does, which is go out, go find the talent wherever it resides, collate that talent, bring it together, and put it on the field, and hopefully you get good outcome.
Yeah,
there's no more Jack Warner. You gotta find a new Jack Warner. That's what you need, and you need a sugar daddy.
He's out there somewhere. He or she's out there somewhere. We just got to find that place.
Yeah, we got to find them and have them be involved with the football. So we're
at
that time, Andre. It's always good being with you here, and we co-hosting the show. As I mentioned before, Manningsman is away as the permanent interim manager for the football team. He's on national duty. He allowed me and Andre here, give us the ability to do this tonight. So we appreciate him, give us this opportunity. And also we appreciate having Sebastian on, who was the performance enhancer for the national team, and who also has aspirations of being able to impart his knowledge to a wide audience in Jamaica in terms of performance enhancers that we may have on the island. So hopefully he gets an opportunity. So great being here. Love the discussion. And I'm sure we're going to be doing this again soon, some point.
And now when we get to this moment, this is when you say?
No, you can say it this time.
No, it's on you.
I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah, do your own thing.
I'm going to do my own thing. So when we get to this point, I'm going to say, thanks, commenters, for being here. We can't do this without you. It's most time, as they would say, it's all about you. So you make the show, your comments, your perspective, whether it's agreeable or not, that's irrelevant. It's all about the communication, the engagement, and the association we have with you. So thank you for being here. We appreciate it. As you depart the forum, please hit the like button, and I'll say we're over and we are out. Have a great evening.
All right, you too.
Yo, watch your bad dog, SK New Erdis, the body out there, Sniper King I represent for I Am Sure Sports. You get to me, I say, when you want the latest news and sports and updates and all of that, check out I Am Sure Sports. You know the thing goes in. Remember, cover the whole island. Remember Kingston, Westmoreland, Galchester, Ocho-Rios, Galtigo Bay, everywhere. I Am Sure Sports, check it out for the latest news and latest updates. Sniper King I represent. Where them feel like, yeah, someone on for the food from young, from where they knee height. I Am Sure Sports. Yeah, dog.